Hello Mzansi, you are listening to Farmers Inside Track, proudly brought to you by Food from Mzansi. Officially, this is the world's best podcast for 2024 as awarded by One IFRA, and that's of course the global organization for the world's press. I'm your host, Duncan Masiwa, and welcome to episode 465. Now in this episode, we explore career paths in agriculture, shedding light on the diverse opportunities within this field and highlight how the Opportunities for Youth initiative by All4Youth can help you make informed decisions about your career in agriculture, and the launch of their Eguide and how young people can benefit from that. In this conversation, I'm joined by Comfort Tshisikule, Youth and Learning Development Lead at Nestlé, and she's flanked by Masego More, CEO of Vermi Village. Thank you so much, Comfort and Masego, for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Duncan.
Thank you for having us, Duncan.
Fantastic. Comfort, starting with you, tell us a bit about All4YouthSSA, someone who might not have heard about what it is that you do. Take us through that.
All4YouthSSA, as we famously call it. This is an initiative that was initiated by Nestlé over 10 years ago. And over the years, it has replicated in the different parts of the world. And here in the sub-Saharan Africa, we have also partnered with like-minded companies that have come together to ensure that we meet the targets that we have set for ourselves to reach about 1 million young people by 2030. Some of the alliances that we work with, it's Nestlé, it's ABB Adco Group, Publicis, and Microsoft. And recently, we just joined hands with Puma as well.
Sounds fantastic. You know, one thing that I've learned about the agricultural sector and the initiatives that we have, it's quite important to partner with the right people so that you can sort of drive the sector forward and development within the sector forward. And you guys seem to be doing that quite well. Masego, looking at you, Vermi Village, the first time hearing about it, tell us exactly what it is that you guys get up to there at Vermi Village.
So Vermi Village is fairly new in the game. I'm pretty sure by now you've heard about vermiculture. I've seen some of the articles. You've covered some vermiculture enthusiasts on your Food from Mzansi network. So Vermi Village is also a vermiculture company, but we're focusing more on the vermicompost side. So now we want to tap into the regenerative agriculture where we're looking at specifically soil health. So our vision is to become a market leader within the compost manufacturing side of things, because we really believe in going back to using organic material. You know, we want to do away with the use of heavy chemicals, especially within our soil, because we've seen that when you utilize too much of the farming practices on the soil, it does cause some soil degradation. So we need those microorganisms to be revitalized. We need those organic nutrients to be brought back into the soil. So that's what we're all about.
That sounds amazing, and it puts a smile on my face, because for a very long time, and I suppose still to this day, when it comes to conversations around conservation agriculture and regenerative agriculture, it's a conversation or topics that frighten small-scale farmers, because all of a sudden it's this new way of farming and it's costly, and how do I do this? So it's great that you guys focus on that, and I suppose help farmers make sense of how to navigate that space. But of course, we're talking youth, Masego. What is the significance of International Youth Day, and why are conversations around topics like this important for youth?
When we look at International Youth Day, looking at it from a broader perspective, it is so significant because you get to realize what other young people are doing all over the world. And that kind of charges you as a young person or myself. It charges you and it gives you this oomph of some sort that I can do something in my own community. There are problems that I can solve, and I don't have to settle for being part of statistics. I can actually change the narrative. And having those conversations or being exposed to those type of platforms or days like this that create that type of awareness really just gives our young people that drive. It also goes back to looking at what we have and using what we have to the best of our ability, because I mean, when you take me, for example, this business that I'm in didn't just come up one day. It actually incepted in university when I was part of a student organization called Enactors. So Enactors just actually empowers young students to go out there, identify problems in the community, and then come up with innovative solutions to solve those problems. And one of the projects that we were in had to do with agriculture. And we saw the problem of soil health and how it affects the quality of the produce that those specific people are able to produce. So then we came up with this initiative. So being able to be in that type of space where you are amongst young people, we're brainstorming ideas, we're getting to see how far we can stretch our minds, and we're getting ideas even from the internet. That is what International Youth Day is all about, because we're just reminding each other that we are capable and we don't have to succumb to our backgrounds.
Comfort, as the Youth and Learning Development Lead at Nestlé, what does International Youth Day mean for you? And what would you say is the significance of this day when we have this conversation?
Alluding to what Masego has said, one other important part of really looking at the International Youth Day, it's about celebrating what young people are doing, the value that they bring into the business, into the communities, the passions that they have found for themselves. And when we have such a day like this is an opportunity that we are able to then recognize and celebrate. And it is also a time where we recognize the potential that is still there for young people in terms of, if you look at it from an All4Youth point of view, where our goal is really to create economic empowerment and ensure that young people have got economic or access to the economy, whether through employment, employability, entrepreneurship, agripreneurship. I think this is really a day of significance for us to observe it and to ensure that we celebrate the contribution that young people are making within the society.
Most definitely. And I think one of the other things that I absolutely love about these holidays, in this case being International Youth Day, and of course in South Africa what we call Youth Day, which is on the 16th of June, is that it also spotlights opportunities for young people. What are some of the initiatives, Comfort, that your organization or All4YouthSSA are running to support young people in the industry?
There are a lot of opportunities that we actually have under our banner as All4YouthSSA. And to support this, we have our implementation partner Empower that really enables the alliance partners to drive some of these initiatives. Just to mention a few, our calendar in a year is quite jam-packed with a lot of activities, starting off with ensuring that young people receive proper mentorship from your industry experts. And this you find happening in the Q1 of the year. We also have a program or initiative that we call All4Hustlers that really fosters a culture of entrepreneurship, where we encourage young people to say, look, whilst we understand that not all of us may end up in corporate, here is an opportunity and how you can actually start off your business, and what support do we then provide as an All4YouthSSA, and really the alliance rally around this to ensure that young people are getting the support, the mentoring, the coaching that they need to ensure that they start off something, or just to ensure that there's sustainability in the businesses that they have started. And also, it's really to drive the notion of the opportunities that we're saying are there. How do we ensure that young people actually have got access to those opportunities? And we take pride as All4YouthSSA that we are there at the community, amongst the young people, sharing with them opportunities that are available through the different alliance partners, whether it be the graduate programs that we run, the internship programs, the youth employment services, apprenticeship, and currently with our recent event in terms of the career hookup that we had in celebration of the Youth Month as well, was the opportunity that young people can have of job shadowing, to say, come and have some real lifetime experience and experience what it is like to be in the workplace. So those are some of the initiatives that we run. And the other piece that is of pride within the All4YouthSSA is that our executives from the alliance partner are really sold out into this initiative, in that they literally give in their time, either through mentoring, engaging with the young people, and supporting the young people through the different initiatives that we have within the alliance partner.
I'm looking at your social media pages, and I suppose it's all in the name. It's all about youth. It's all about opportunities. You mentioned now briefly the career hookup that you had. It's really lovely seeing that a platform like this actually exists for young people. Masego, looking at you again, what are some of the interesting trends you see happening when it comes to transforming food systems?
Some of the interesting trends that I see is how we are actually migrating towards utilizing AI. So technology is something that we are incorporating, and I'm so excited for that because I studied mechanical engineering, and seeing that South Africa is getting closer to where its fullest potential with innovation integration is just something that excites me. So we see a lot of technology being integrated within agriculture. That is even machine-wise, hardware, as well as software-wise, where you have your AI tools, AI apps. Farmers can go on certain apps where they can ask questions that they don't have answers to. I remember when I was planting in one of the farms earlier this year, I used one of the apps to search for a pest that was actually pestering us on the farm. And the app actually showed what kind of pest that was. It also showed us what pesticide we can use or what organic way we can use to mitigate this in future when we're planting again. So those are some of the initiatives or things that I see going on within the agri space. I also see that there's a lot of plant-based and alternative proteins that have just been introduced within the South African space. It's interesting, although I am someone that is still very much a lover of my meat, but it speaks more on the people that cannot afford to get meat because of their health issues. So having these alternative solutions for them really assists and helps them out. And another one that I'm really excited about is the sustainable agriculture and obviously regenerative practices that I'm obviously within that space as a business. Exciting to see that farmers are incorporating those farming practices. Farmers are looking into other ways of farming. You have your vertical farming, you have your hydroponics, your aquaponics. There's different ways that we are able to farm and still compete in the commercial space without it just being a hobby. So those type of trends excite me because it shows us as young people that agriculture is not just about farming. Agriculture is not just about farming in one way. There's many, many, many opportunities within the agriculture space where you can contribute towards an economy, and you don't have to find yourself migrating or going to the urban areas just to have something happening in your life. You can actually still be in the rural areas and still get that economic stability in your own life. So that's very exciting.
It's definitely quite comforting to see how future-focused our farmers are, especially young farmers, looking at regenerative farming, looking at how they can use data to make informed decisions, and all of the other things that you mentioned. You were at our Mzansi Young Farmers in Daba, and some of those future-focused farmers were also in attendance. Tell us about your experience at this year's Mzansi Young Farmers in Daba, Masego.
My experience was actually amazing. I'm still reaping the results of just attending. I mean, me being in this interview is one of those results because I got to connect with the All4You organization. I didn't know about them until the Food from Mzansi Farmers in Daba, and that was really an interesting interaction. But that was just one of the interactions I had. I had plenty more interactions where I got to learn more than I already do right now about what's happening in the farmer space, what's happening in the agriculture space, what opportunities are there for me and our business. We got to network and create good contacts for possible collaborations in future. We got to learn during the different panel discussions and masterclasses. Really exciting, really, really enjoyed myself. I wasn't alone. I went with my business partner. He also has so much to share on that. And it just shows that these are the type of platforms that we need more within the space so that we can connect and we can network and we can grow in this specific sector.
Fantastic. Of course, we hope to see you next year again at the Indaba. Comfort, you were also there, the All4Youth team. Tell us a bit about your experience and maybe also what sparked your interest in actually attending the Indaba.
Firstly, the farmers Indaba, it's like a stone away from where I stayed. I actually didn't know there was such a beautiful spot in the middle of Pretoria. Normally when you talk about farming, you're thinking, somewhere out and about in the country.
Yes.
I think for me, even driving, I remember when I arrived there, I was telling Joy, I'm like, Joy, can you believe I just stayed around, Airport Road in Doornpoort? I didn't know there was such a place here. And she was literally laughing. I'm thinking, wow, the gems that we actually have within our reach. But maybe to come back to why we were there as an All4Youth Alliance. As All4Youth, we are really about bringing opportunities and networking opportunities to the young people. And I think, as Masego is saying, to say it is through this that, an event like that now she has extended her network and her reach. All4Youth, it's very much important that we then forge more partnership with like-minded entities and really participate in initiatives similar to what drives our ambition in terms of creating these opportunities for young people. And I think it was very much important as an All4Youth SSA to be part of this so that we can also then showcase, because we were featured as part of a panel discussion to say, how do we then bridge the gap? How do we ensure that young people can actually look at corporate, not from a different point of view, even from an agricultural point of view as well? What value do we bring into the ecosystem, from farm to fork? Those kind of conversations are quite encouraging to the youth so that they can actually understand the end-to-end chain of value in terms of the agricultural space. So it was quite an amazing event and definitely looking forward to participating again next year. For me personally as well, there was a lot of networking, and also it's also an opportunity for us as an alliance to look out for other opportunities where we can then partner with other people as well to say, how do we then drive agriculture forward in terms of new technology, new ways of farming, and so on and so forth.
And I suppose you've sort of answered, my next question, Comfort, on why initiatives that are focused on helping youth or young people explore different career paths, including those in agriculture, why those are so important. Maybe you can just touch on that, Comfort, and then we'll hear from Masego as well.
There are various stereotypes that are probably held when it comes to different professions. And I think for me, when you think about agriculture, I associate with agriculture from how I grew up. So we had a little piece of land. We farmed everything. I mean, I remember the first time I went to varsity and I spent the whole year, I couldn't get myself to the shop to go and buy bananas because I was like, how am I supposed to buy a banana that I can literally just wake up and walk outside my backyard and pick it up from the tree? And that is the relationship that I had with the land when I was growing up. When we have a platform like this, and in partnership with Food for Mzansi as well, to bring that appreciation to the young people, generations apart, so that they can then also then understand, where does this food that we actually eat come from? How is it grown? How do you nurture it? How do we get the nutrition that we desire so that we can lead a healthy life, and so on and so forth. And I think it's very much important that as young people, we can then be a pillar of encouragement to say, yes, you can literally go and study agriculture because it is an important piece of the ecosystem in terms of ensuring that we've got our future and our livelihood.
Masego, you're quite involved with communities with the work that you do. What is your response to that? Why are initiatives focused on helping young people explore different career paths, including that of agriculture? Why is that so important?
I think it's important, touching on the stereotypes that Comfort also touched on. We have this illusion that only careers within the STEM area are the ones that can give you success. And that's only based on lack of knowledge, So young people would migrate from rural areas and then they would go to the urban area, leaving wealth behind, leaving their land behind, leaving opportunity to create their own ecosystem, and they're going out there to try and get a job that will just give them enough food for just a day or so. And because of such initiatives, I think that we're trying to change that narrative and say to young people, the very same land that you have at home, you can actually go study and learn how to create wealth out of that land. The very same cattle that you have at home, you can go study, learn about how you can create wealth in the commercial space, compete not just within South Africa, but also exporting in all those other areas. So very important that we have these initiatives and we have these awareness activations so that young people can see that we don't have to settle for a job in the STEM, because as we can see, unemployment is very high because these STEM careers seem to be saturated. I mean, I just heard recently that you even find doctors that can't get jobs at this point. That's how bad it's getting. Having these type of conversations, these activations and initiatives that say to young people there is more to the world than just them, then it opens up a whole new opportunity for them.
Most definitely. Comfort, one of the things that we love at Fruit from Mzansi is telling a good success story. And I'm sure in the work that you do at All4YouthSSA, you've seen quite a couple of those. What are some of the success stories, or maybe just one, that you'd like to share with us?
At the end of the day, we do this because we want to see positive results. We want to see positive outputs through the initiatives that we forge on. One key thing that when I recently took over the role was the beautiful work that was done last year. I think we had a competition, an agri-pitch competition, and there were quite a number of young people that really participated in that and really who are nurturing and taking into the agriculture space by storm and, with such energy and enthusiasm. And I think for me, ties into a success story. It's when even within corporate and within our systems, we have got programs like, for an example, at Nestlé, we have a fully fledged team of agriculture department, and we recruit your agricultural scientists who come in and not only internally focused, but they further extend that knowledge in terms of training and upskilling the farmers who are directly our suppliers, and also ensuring that whatever product that we are producing is then of good quality. So I think for me, the success in this is that, yes, was as All4Youth as an initiative, there are a lot of things that we can be doing, but how do we then take in some of these opportunities that we are creating and say, here is the space that you can flourish as a young person who has done agriculture, and this is where you can actually flourish. So that is one of the success stories that we have seen, that now and then we have graduates coming in the agricultural space. And I think one piece that actually took me by surprise when we attended Fruit from Mzansi, the Young Farmers in Daba, was when one of our alliance partner was literally talking about the technology that is there that can support farmers in their spaces. And I think how we then collaborate and how we then capacitate young people with knowledge of the information that is there, how they can take in that information and how they can use it to best suit their interest and their passion. I think that's when we will say we have been able to be successful in terms of driving this initiative.
It's clear that, although we've made some great strides as young people in the agricultural sector, there's quite still a lot for us to do. Comfort, staying with you, we do quite a bit of work at Fruit from Mzansi ourselves when it comes to exposing young people to different career opportunities within the agricultural sector. Because oftentimes, I think Masego mentioned early on, when we think of agriculture, we just think of farming and getting your hands dirty. But there's an entire sector out there, from boardroom agriculture to research to planning and policies and economics and. Why would you encourage young people to pursue a career opportunities in agriculture, Comfort?
It starts with a passion, and it is very much important that as young people, they take agriculture as a path that they can actually build a livelihood and a career. The basis of that could be driven strongly by passion and how they have seen the soil and how nature has actually taken care of them throughout their life as well. To even go further in terms of considering this as a career path, it is important for young people to remain at all time as curious as possible and expanding their network, connecting with experts within the food system industry, and embracing the innovation and the technology that we see, that change is inevitable. And I think as a young person who is considering taking the agricultural route as a career, then they need to also then show that edge of adaptability, remaining open-minded and really considering sustainability. And I see this recently. I participated in a research study and where they were asking young graduates what are some of the things that they would consider before joining a potential employer and all that. And young people are talking about what is the sustainability plan of that organization. And I think this talks to a young person who is futuristic in saying, I want this to still exist in the future, and show me how you are ensuring you are sustainable into the future. So those are just some of the things that I can share with the young people considering to take agriculture as a career path.
Masego, for you, what advice would you give to young people considering career paths along the food system value chain?
Encouraging them around agriculture would just be a matter of reminding them that our land is our wealth. A lot of young people go into the urban areas just to get that wealth side of things, but they don't recall that the land is the one that will give you that wealth. If you align yourself with the right partners, align yourself in the right rooms, you'll be able to turn that land into the wealth that you need. And a lot of young people also like to know their identity. They want to stay African. We're going back to knowing who we are, because for a long time we've embraced a lot of the westernized culture. So agriculture is one of the ways to stay in touch with your roots, to stay in touch with who you are. And creating wealth while you're still staying in touch with who you are is something that agriculture also, career in agriculture gives you that opportunity. So I would encourage a young person that this is something that gives you purpose, because you also add to the economy of South Africa, because agriculture adds to the GDP of South Africa. So you're still creating purpose and you're still staying true to who you are as a human being, as a person, as an African, while creating wealth in the process. So I think that would be my words to somebody who's considering agriculture, that just go for it.
I absolutely love it. Comfort, Masego says our land is our wealth, and that it's important to align oneself with the right partners. And hopefully after this conversation, young people that are listening to it see All4YouthSSA as the right partner. What resources do All4YouthSSA provide to supporting young people, including those in the agricultural sector?
As I've mentioned before, that one of our flagship activity in our calendar year is that of All4 Mentorship. And I think to Masego's point, in terms of aligning yourself with the right partners, the right people, the right experts, I think this vehicle of mentoring and coaching becomes very much important for a person who is exploring different careers, including that in agriculture. Also, one key thing that we also launched as All4YouthSSA is an Eguide. So it's sort of like an ebook that young people have access to. And that document has got some wealth of information in terms of where they can find some of this information, where they can get support, how they can be linked up with necessary resources that they need to further themselves as individual partners in that alliance. There are different elements that we bring into the table. If I can just mention one, for an example, from Nestlé, is that of Youth Entrepreneurship Program, shortly YEP, where it's a wealth of an e-learning academy where young people have got access to this information in terms of how to start up, how to scale up, how to pitch your idea, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the resources that are available through All4Youth that young people have access to and they can use to their advantage to better support themselves as well.
Comfort, where can our listeners find out more information about the Eguide and also just some of the other work that you do?
I will refer them to follow us on our socials. We are on LinkedIn, All4YouthSSA. We are on X. We are also on Instagram and on Facebook as well.
I often have to ask myself, who is X? And then I remember, oh yes, it's Twitter.
You need to move with times, Duncan.
Masego, how can people find out more about the amazing work that you do?
We have social media accounts as well on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Everywhere we are Vermi Village. So we spell it as VermiVillage. So Vermi Village, that's where you can find us on all different platforms. And we have a website. Just go to vermivillage.co.za.
Thanks, Comfort Tshisikule, Youth and Learning Development Lead at Nestlé. Of course, Masego More, CEO of Vermi Village. You can, of course, read more on this topic by visiting www.foodfromzansi.co.za. And that's a wrap. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss any of the episodes. From me, Duncan Masiwa, our technical producer, Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food from Zanzi, thanks for listening.